Welcome to the Business Shop Podcast, where our guests speak on meeting the challenges of entrepreneurship, as well as offer tips and advice on business, marketing, technology, and more. Whether you are a newbie or a seasoned professional, this episode is for you. I am your host, Audrey Wiggins. Let's chop it up. Excited today about our guest, Kent Swampy Glade, as in Kentucky Glades. And here at MakeSomethingHappen.tv, we take local conversations and make global impacts. And this impact that we're making today with Swampy is surely going to be a global impact, because he is all about the environment. And just a little bit about him: he's been inspired to speak on the environment, emphasizing water as wetlands and Earth Day, which of course is coming up very soon. So we look forward to that. He has lived a never get bored life growing up in an orphanage, and Swampy definitely wants, share a little bit of, your personal life, so we really know who we're talking to and your inspiration. He's jumped a moving train as a child. So have I, but I usually jump when they're on the movies, and I jump with the with the jumper, so I'm safe over here. So I'm glad that you survived. And he's also survived in the 60s. He survived a head-on collision with a 41-ton rock truck. And, God, saw fit to spare him for such a time as this. And Swampy, here you are. I'm assuming that the truck bed was carrying rocks.
Oh, 41 tons, exactly.
Oh my goodness, yes. So we want to go on and get started. We want to learn more. You've got your character. We want to learn about your passion for the environment and how, you can engage us, or how we can, engage ourselves and support the effort where we are. So Swampy, you take it away.
Okay, thanks so much, Audrey. Great meeting you in Clubhouse.
Yes.
And Clubhouse is, for me, is transformational. But yes, my name is Kent Swampy Glade. I actually took that name in based on, for a while, I evolved into the state of what's called wetlands. And I've actually started a nonprofit recently called Swampy Inc. And like Audrey said, my main focus is clean water, the importance of that, the scarcity of that. I'll give you an example of that later. And then wetlands protection. Wetlands serve so many different functions for us that a lot of times we just want to drain them, but they serve as habitats for endangered species, water quality, hurricane buffering, and so many different types. And I'll share that with you a little bit. But yeah, Swampy Inc., I just started that, a 501c3. And let me tell you real quick how I started with Swampy. I created a Swampy character, and it's actually, I started as a Halloween gag because we used to dress up as Halloween characters. So I got involved with wetlands. So I took some plastic, right? And then I painted some blue on it for the waters, brown outside of that for the soils. And then outside I had green for the vegetation. Then I got underneath me, I've got a music box or a sound box, right? So I have all these animal songs underneath it, okay? And I crank up the volume, it's like resonates, okay? So then I got in rollerblades. Rollerblades were big back in the day, right, Audrey?
Yes.
And then I had dry ice coming out. And then I had a Swampy costume, and I had put in shoulder pads, okay? So I'm like about 6'2", right? And then I'm moving slow like a Swampy dude, So they said, why don't you take that on the road? So I did do that, and I got a couple of really funny stories for you all. But yeah, again, my main concern, just like climate, wetlands can often become controversial. So what I'm trying to leverage is my Swampy character. I'm sure you all have heard of Smokey the Bear, okay, as a symbol for force. I want to do this globally because water is so huge. And I've done podcasts about this. I did a Zoom webinar last year on the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. But again, clean water is a shortage in a lot of different supplies. A lot of it have to do with climate change. Again, our wetlands, we're losing those at an astronomical rate, such as the Amazon rainforest. And I was on a webinar the other day talking about that and the way it affects indigenous peoples. And then Earth Day, I was a child of the 70s. Okay. And in the 70s, we saw the creation of the US EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, under the Nixon administration, the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act. So I've got over 45 years of environmental experience, and just great being with you today, just to tell you how each of us can think globally, but act locally. So that's my goal, Audrey.
That's awesome. That fits right in, with our purpose, that local conversation, making a global impact. Absolutely. So you give us more about the wetlands, because I know, I'll read articles in the news, about Brazil and different areas, how we are destroying it, or just, how, I don't know if it's like evolution or what's going on, and what can we do in our own backyard. And just give us like the real impact that has on the environment.
Okay. Yeah, each state, I've gone all around primarily the United States, looking at all the different wetland systems. Wetlands basically are those areas on the fringe between deep water habitat and upland areas. And a lot of times, I used to be involved with called wetland delineation. We would actually have to go through and find out where the delineated line is, what's upland and what's wetland. And how we determine that, Audrey, is looking at the hydrology. What kind of hydrology? The soils. A lot of times the soils will change presence in the absence of oxygen, which is termed anaerobic. And then the third area is hydrophytes, hydrophytic vegetation, those plants that will grow in areas that are quote unquote stressed. And a couple examples of those: wetlands encompass those areas in oceans or marine systems. Then we get involved with the rivers that discharge into the oceans, i.e. like the Chesapeake Bay. And those are areas again called estuaries. It's between where fresh water runs into marine water. We look at salinity. Then we look at rivers, and that's called riverine systems. And also we look at lakes. A lot of times you'll see lakes, and then how on the side you might see like water lilies, okay, or spatterdock.
Right.
And then look kind of, it's just different areas. You don't see these areas. And then even on the East Coast and down south, we have these systems called salt marshes. And that's the genus and species is Spartina alternatifolia. We have to learn our genus and species, right, as scientists. So these are precious areas. Again, they're very prone to development because they're the last areas that developers see. So we just want to bring awareness to folks so that they know those habitats exist for fish and wildlife habitat, okay, and also to combat climate change.
Right. And so when you talked about developers, sometimes they want to develop lands, they want to put condos and shopping centers, the impact of that, and also do they actually, last on those with that kind of foundation, what it takes to even fill in a swampy, a wetland area.
Yeah, and a good classic example is like in the Florida, and again, countries throughout the world, we have something called mangrove forestings. And we have like black mangroves, and they grow right on the edge of the land and the ocean. And a lot of times they want to, take those out for condos. Well, they've done that to a certain extent that it disturbs that fragile mangrove habitat, because you have a lot of fishes, okay, that swim in there, a lot of little organisms, salt water, in between freshwater and saltwater animals that can live like that. But once you remove that, then you remove another species in the food chain. And we need to, I didn't tell you all also what Swampy, it's an acronym, Audrey. And Swampy is for kids as well. And the soils are brown. And the W stands for waters, it's blue. The A stands for animals. There are bioindicators. We look at the health of animals in the ecosystem. M, mankind, womankind. And then that gets to not black or white, but a silver transition between the two. And then we have P is green for plants. And then we have Y is for the youth. And that's the yellow, like the sunshine.
All right. Yeah, we definitely want to put that acronym up so we can take a look at that and memorize that. I'm going to memorize that as well in every walk of life. So where I live, in a high rise, and on the other side of our driveway is called a land conservancy. And so it's up on, we're on the hill. So you look down and there's like a stream that goes by. So, and I guess it comes when it's most active after a snow or after a rain. And then sometimes it looks like you have white caps down there. racing, and you can hear it, it's tranquil to listen to it. And so I assume that it's going to, and it's flowing it out into the Cuyahoga River here in Ohio. So is that how, what is that purpose, is it redirecting the waters, or is it keeping, explain that process. I'm sure there are other places too, not just here.
Thanks. And also, besides permitting for the coal companies in the coal industry in Kentucky, also got involved with urban planning, Audrey. And that's more urban concept where you have a lot of impermeable surfaces. Okay. You take away the soils and the wetlands and you put in asphalt, concrete. A lot of the materials, the oils, the salts, they run in to the sewer systems, the sanitary, the drainage ways, if you will. And it's real important that wetlands often serve as buffers to catch a lot of these pollutants and impurities. But the thing we also want to look at is ocean health, because always remember that everything is upland. It all moves towards where? Towards the lower level based upon acceleration and gravity. And typically that ends up in our oceans. And then we have ocean issues like plastics, impurities, pollutants in our oceans that, yes, they're big, but there was an old saying, Audrey, that I grew up, dilution is not the solution to pollution. Okay. We can no longer take that anymore.
Yes, definitely. Well, pursuant to that, as far as when you were talking about the youth, I'm thinking about your Swampy name word, the acronym at this point. So we have programs for youth and how to get them involved, because we always have to grab that. In this case, we're going down the chain. They're going to be the ones that are going to be here to implement or keep programs going after we're no longer able or gone on, as far as that's concerned. So what is the important role of your speaking and the types of things programs you have when working with the youth? Okay,
thanks. That's one of the fun things I had dressing up as Swampy, because kids, I didn't tell you guys also, I have creatures attached to Swampy. I may have a snake around here, I may have a turtle, okay, I have frogs, and kids want to touch it, okay, because the sound radiates. And when my costume moves, okay, these creatures kind of move, and it's really like taking a living wetland to the kids. And what I've involved is I've recently have finished my first book, Audrey.
Excellent.
It's called Swampy and Friends. And long story short, it's for more elementary, teaching the kids the basics. I know we talk about STEM and STEAM, and I have my own education called STREAM.
Okay, tell us more about that.
Yeah, it's like science for S, T for technology, and the E is for engineering, the A is for arts, and the M is for mathematics. But what I use is R, which is for reading, writing, and English, which are three aspects that kids have to be proficient at when they take the ACT to go to college, not covered by STEM or STEAM.
Right.
So that's what I tell them, the basics, how to write a paper using an outline, okay, the body, 3 points, the introductory paragraph, then you have a body, then you have a summary, okay, so that kids learn the basics. And again, what I've got, I do visits, I also do virtual webinars, and the exciting thing is, Audrey, I'm getting ready to promote a TV series, okay, called Swampy and Friends.
Awesome.
And I'm trying to.
Can you tell us anything about that, or
sure.
Just I don't know how much you can tell without giving it away.
Yeah, and when we grew up, Audrey, what did we used to watch as kids? Okay, it was Captain Kangaroo, right?
That's right.
The captain was there, and he had his sidekicks. He had Mr. Rabbit, he had Mr. Moose, he had Dancing Bear, okay, and he had Mr. Green Jeans. But those were days when I was growing up, and it was fun to be a kid because you had somebody like a Mr. Rogers, okay, that every day you could go see and you could learn something about, and they were kind to one another. And I've got the same thing. I've got Swampy. I've got Kent Glade as a separate character. Then I've got my friend Old Cypress, okay. And Old Cypress talks about historically how the way our country used to be. And then I've got these characters called Hydric Heroes. And then I've got my beautiful dog, Josie. She's a swamp dog.
Is she there with you?
She's a
That's why you look
Louisiana
around.
Catahoula dog.
Is she sitting there with you now?
Yeah, she's down there sleeping right next
If she
to
come
me.
up in the camera, I don't know.
Well, do you want me to have her sing for you?
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Josie. Hey, Josie, what you see? Ooh, look at Josie. That's Josie. She's lovable. She's just awesome. She's at my feet every time.
I thought we'd get a picture of her, but yeah, we heard her though.
I can send you one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. That's exciting. I always bring in our youth because making learning fun, but what they're learning is so important. And I think about now sometimes, see news reports or stories about young people who are really involved, being activists for climate change, different other parts of doing with the environment, communities, social justice. And it really does, it takes us to open up, their minds to really, to show them that. So I really appreciate you being a part of that change there with the environment and its health. And tell us about the background in your photo there.
This is actually a bottomland hardwood swamp.
Okay.
As you can kind of see how it's got the water. Then you have the green stuff. See the green stuff over here? That might be duckweed. And then you have different classifications of wetland. Like this might be inundated, dead. Okay, it might show all these stumps and so forth. Well, a lot of creatures will actually live in there. In Western Kentucky, we have a snake called the copperbelly water snake. Okay, a lot of these places harbor, for example, mosquitoes, and that's a big source of food for bats, which is the Indiana bat, which is endangered in the state of Kentucky. So that's the other thing that I get involved, Audrey, when I talk about Earth Day. I get involved talking about invasive species and then endangered species. I also talk about carbon, climate, and understanding the elements in our world. Then I also talk about the history of environmental protection and urban planning. We touch base that. And then we talk about clean water and wetlands and that aspect, as well as a couple other subjects. One time I gave an 8-week podcast, Audrey, to Earth Day, 8 weeks to Earth Day in 2019. And every week I talked about a certain subject. And for example, like on natural disasters, guess what was my theme music in the natural disasters?
Oh, no, I don't want to guess. Tell us.
It was The Wizard of Oz. Oh. I'm not sure if you remember that, but Dorothy's out there. Okay, yeah, you got this twister going, and they go, Dorothy, right? And Dorothy is stuck, and she doesn't do it. So she lands in the house, and she gets her head hit, right? And then she spins, and she sees the Wicked Witch, right? And then she lands. But that entire natural disaster, I've worked with FEMA, Audrey, and I've worked in Hurricane Wilma in 2005 and Hurricane Katrina. I was deployed to South Florida, and I worked in what's called the Public Assistance Program. Okay. And we basically local with municipal governments and help them repair their infrastructure. But that's the end result, oftentimes, of climate change. So I got a little experience in that area as well.
Wow, that's amazing right there. That is crazy. Yep. So you really are deep into this and really involved in spreading that news. So on your I know you're going to give us your website. So some of these webinars and things that you had mentioned in the past, I imagine, are they available on your website, or you're going to do something new for Earth Day this year? Because I'm sure people would love to plug into things you've done and what you're doing, and to be able to learn and take part.
Yeah, we want to do what's called a virtual conference this year. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if y'all have been to symposiums or virtual conferences. Yes. We have software that's available where you look down on, from looking up to the top down to it. It has a place where you register and you get your pamphlets. Then each room will cover a certain topic. Okay. And we actually have it where your avatar's on the screen. You can follow people and what rooms they're going to, right? So you could go to a room and we will have like videos. I'm big on YouTube. Okay. And people can go around each area. For example, one room might be endangered species. Another might be invasive species. Okay. What type of creatures, okay, are destroying the Everglades? Right now, they have a real problem with the Burmese python. It's eating all the native species in Florida. So that's what we want to try to do. Yeah. Connect with me. Real quick, let me just tell them my
Sure.
email is swampy@swampy.org. Very easy to remember.
Okay, swampy@swampy.org.
Yeah. Make sure
Definitely.
it's .com, but it's .org.
Okay.
And also, I know while we're talking about this as well, I'm getting very excited. Clubhouse has been awesome. It's transformational. But don't forget me. I want to share with you some of those interesting stories growing up as well, Audrey.
Oh yeah. Why don't we go ahead and share some of your stories now?
Okay, hey, great. Yeah, it's kind of unusual. And the funny thing is when you get on Clubhouse, okay, people have stories to tell. One of the stories they had the other day was what lifetime event in your life kickstarted your personal business. So like you're saying, Audrey, I actually had a rock truck hit me in 1997. I came to, and I had the engine sitting in my lap, and I had a compound fracture, and I had glass and metal. And I'm like, oh, I'm alive. Well, I scared them, Audrey, because they called it in as fatality, right?
Wow.
So I'm there. I'm like, okay. But the thing was, we have these unique things called shock, right? So I start cracking jokes, okay, like Clint Eastwood or John Wayne, give me a piece of wood to chew on and some whiskey because you're going to use the jaws of life on me. They didn't think that was funny. But anyway, we did that. They flew me up in the helicopter. The people at the University of Kentucky Hospital, I owe my life to them as well. But then I had 7 surgeries. They put rods and pins in my body. And
Wow.
each surgery was different. You thought it'd be an easy surgery. Before you know it, your life was hanging in the balance.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one thing I wanted to share as far as the 97. The other thing that I need to share that's is kind of unique, I grew up in the 60s.
Yes.
We recently had an event. We were talking about one night in Miami. And I joined the clubhouse room, and we were talking about 4 great African-American leaders,
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali, was it Sam Cooke?
Yes.
And then Jim Brown.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm like, man, I grew up with these guys. Back in our days, boxing was big. Louisville, where I live, is the home of Muhammad Ali.
Mm-hmm.
We knew him back at the time as Cassius Clay. So I watched him grow up. And the sad thing I have to say about at the time, Cassius Clay, he had won gold medals for the United States, and he could not even go into a cafe and get a drink.
Yes.
So story has it that he took those gold medals and threw them into the Ohio River.
Mm-hmm.
But he went through a lot. A lot of times I compare. I did substitute teaching in one of my classes on Veterans Day, and I used an example with the kids there about Muhammad Ali versus Elvis Presley.
Okay.
And you could have heard a pin drop. But I grew up with that in the 60s. 60s, we had the Cuban Missile Crisis, JFK, a young nation's embodiment, okay, of youth and wanting to go to the moon. And he got shot, okay. Later on, Martin Luther King, the very leader who held this country together, who followed the principles of Gandhi, okay.
Yes.
And what a leader, just his voice was charismatic. And then, of course, Bobby Kennedy. And then we had Watergate. We also had the 60s and hippies and drugs. And then we had the Vietnam War.
Yes.
Guys were given a hard time if they had hair over their ears. Okay. Mm-hmm. So all this turbulence going on within roughly 10 years. But JFK said early on, let's send a man to the moon. And by 1969, yes, we landed a man on the moon.
Mm-hmm. That's right. That's
so
right.
Great memories. I just like to share those with folks,
Yeah, right. It, because all of those things, where we are today, that's the foundation of where we've come from. And, the reason we're doing things, you took up a cause, you came out, you were born out of an era where people, were activists for different things. And so you couldn't help but, to have some, to have your life, have a purpose, such as what you've chosen, the environment. So,
yeah, and you know what else we did, Audrey? Later on, I didn't mention this.
Oh, okay.
During my high school years,
Mm-hmm.
we had what was called busing.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And Louisville was one of the prominent locations in the country involving busing. Busing's basically where you take more wealthy kids and bring them down to urban environments, and take the kids from an urban environments and bring them out trying to mix. And this was based on a court case, okay? And you had a lot of people that didn't want to do that.
That's
Okay.
right. Yeah.
But it has really benefited our city of Louisville, Kentucky.
Okay. Yeah, good understanding of how each side lives and
Yeah. Oh,
what
that's what I'm
things,
saying.
interaction. Yeah. Yeah, because you're gonna enact change or make a difference, you need to know, understand like why am I trying to make this difference and what's the real effect of that. So yeah,
Exactly. I will tell you also that I went from making $6 million,
mhm,
six-figure salary
mhm.
to being homeless within 3 years.
Wow. And how
And
what's the story behind that?
well, I didn't understand at the time. It's one of those interesting things when you look back on your life and you say, "Oh, that's the reason I was like that." When I grew up, I'm what's called a bipolar creative,
Hmm.
and a lot of creatives, whether it's Michelangelo, Van Gogh, Robin Williams, okay, they deal in mental health with bipolars, which is somewhat manic depressive. You
Okay.
know,
Yes.
so I went through that. I couldn't hang on to a job. I was married for 28 years,
Hmm.
thankfully. I lost my father, by the way, when I was 1, and I
Wow.
lost the mother when I was 12. And I grew up in an orphanage
Hmm.
in Louisville called the Masonic Home.
Okay.
And yes, I'm writing a book about it too, Audrey.
Yeah, I can't wait to for that to happen. You
I'm
definitely gotta
like
let me know about
I'm
that.
like Disney, exactly. I'm
Yeah,
trying to
support
leverage
that.
what I'm doing, like yourself, okay?
Hmm.
And that's the reason I love Clubhouse. It really is transformational.
It is, it is. And you meet so many like awesome people, and it just brings you back to, I think, bringing back and lifts you up to the person, that you needed to be. Because with this pandemic, all the networking, face-to-face events and things we would have gone to and met people,
Right.
that was just shut out for 10 months. And so then here comes, Clubhouse, and people are really able to connect on a real level. Even though it's social media, I really feel like the people that I've talked to, I mean, just, you and I, of course, made a connection, among others, and it really makes a difference. So I'm happy that, kudos to
Yeah.
the creators of that for sure.
And I'm not sure if folks know about Clubhouse, but initially I'll tell you that because we are welcome in the community. It's primarily for folks who have an iPhone or an iPad because it operates on the Apple iOS system.
Yes.
Number one. Number two, you need to get an invite. And then once you're actually involved in Clubhouse, it's better for you to have both a Twitter account and at least an Instagram account.
Right.
Use Instagram to DM folks like I did with you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then the other thing is once you get in, the whole idea behind Clubhouse is audible. We actually listen to people talk. You can get on it and they won't even see you. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But you can get on stage. And if you have a specific interest, like I have loved the environment and the planet,
yes,
and I'm jumping to climate, again, whether we're talking film, I've also got a film series that I'm working on, and you learn so much for some very interesting people. So,
yeah, right. The tips and the how-tos, because we, as a creative person, we come up with the idea, and okay, so how am I, after beyond that, how do I really execute this to get it beyond, my computer, or my own personal environment to really make that impact that that it was created for. Swampy, you mentioned a minute ago about you're creating a film series. Let's delve into that. Give us a little more information about that.
Okay, great. I've got 4 episodes that I'm trying to promote to folks with more resources that I do, but I've done an 18-minute animated movie.
Oh, cool.
And the Hydric Zone involves like the Twilight Zone, right? So I've got a character, he's a time traveler. His name is Glade, right? So he lands and comes in face to face with famous and infamous people. And the first one is called Rise of the Mutant Wetlands. And he comes face to face with Adolf Hitler. Okay?
Oh, wow.
And it's the embodiment of evil or ego. And it faces a creation where the evil creation actually comes face to face with the pure epitome of evil. And it's more sci-fi for more adults in general. That's the first episode. The next one is called The Human Water Tick. And it's about in the future when a company is working and trying to build the ultimate human being. And this guy gets bit by a mutant water tick. And he's a wetland delineator, okay? And he literally turns in to a human water tick. And I'm an entomologist. He has these mandibles that grow out, okay? And he has these antennas, right? and he gets mad. People get mad, and they try to hurt him, but he's got it's called a carapace. It's very thick. Okay.
Yeah.
So he runs around. But anyway, that's the second one. I also incorporate history. One of mine's called Founding Fathers in the Fog.
Mhm.
And that encompasses,
Ooh, I like that title.
Alexander Hamilton for big government,
Mhm.
and then Thomas Jefferson for states' rights, the more rural applications. They have a squabble, a difference of opinion in the Great Dismal Swamp. So who makes the call? The founding father, George Washington.
Oh, wow.
And he actually lived and worked in the Great Dismal Swamp, by the way, as well.
Oh, okay, that's awesome. Now you created the story, the storyline and the characters. You designed all of this.
Right.
Correct. Yeah, that's exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's exactly. I mean, I kind of feel like a Disney, Audrey. Okay, I got all these things, and I probably need to stay focused, right?
Disney Swampy. They're synonymous.
Yeah. Have fun. You know what I'm saying?
You're right.
Yeah,
exactly. So when is the film series going to be released, or is that in the works yet?
It will. I'm still in the process of finding a producer,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to be involved in the production. I can tell you, helping film wannabe professors like myself. Mm-hmm. The script is huge. I had a ghostwriter help me with the script. Okay. Wow. And a lot of times the script will sell itself in Hollywood.
Okay.
So I got one. It's not the greatest, but it's like, the one thing that I can tell anybody, I've been to a Swampy for like 25 years, again, 45, that you get at some point, it's hard to do these things yourself. If you want to do it on professionally and polished, you need to get the point that you can capture somebody's attention, mm-hmm. take it at that level. And that's
that is so true. Because, especially, as entrepreneurs, we hold our creations, I'm guilty of this too, so close, but at some point you're right. If the vision is really to be revealed the way it was intended, it's going to take a team for sure to make that happen. Yeah.
And I'm trying to do that right now, Audrey. I'm trying to work with people globally. Microsoft has been kind enough to let me partner. Okay. So I've got some licenses. I'm trying to partner with them. Mm-hmm. I've got over 13,000 videos and pictures.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm like, I want to do this. And again, it's good space. I was going to tell you one thing. I went on a cruise with Dr. Wayne Dyer back in the day. It was a writer's cruise, 8-day. And the one thing I wanted to leave you with Dr. Wayne Dyer was this one line: given the choice between right and kindness, choose kindness.
Wow. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm a fan of of his writings. My goodness. Swampy, you mentioned your nonprofit. Tell us about some of the programming or one of the most important things that you may be working on right now as far as swampy.org goes.
Okay, thanks. My name of my nonprofit is Swampy Inc. And again, it's committed towards clean water, wetlands, and Earth Day. And right now, I'm ongoing trying to get clean water for a 250 child orphanage in Western Uganda, Africa. Wow. And I love clean water. I was involved with coal mining, so that gets involved with groundwater wells, et cetera. Mm-hmm. They have an organization called 1 Million Wells, Russell. Also, Microsoft has been nice enough to let me partner with them. And Bill and Melinda Gates are doing a lot of good things in Africa as well. So that's our real goal right now, is to get it for the kids, have the site protected, and have those kids get the water for them and have it protected so it's a stable source. Right now, they're getting water that's rancid, and they have to fight with malaria and mosquitoes. So we want to make their life have a better future for them as well. Absolutely. That's amazing. That's definitely a pat on the back on, for that one. Thanks for sharing that. We really do need to know, about that. And I imagine, when you have the website set up there that we'll be able to make donations or, support the efforts that you're doing. Super. Thanks, Audrey. Yeah, you're welcome. Well, Swampy, if there's not anything else, I'm definitely excited to join up for our time that we spent together today, learning about you, Kentucky Glade, Swampy, and the different initiatives that you have going on, and just wishing the best for you, going forward. Definitely. I want to say one thing real quick. The closing word for you. Go ahead. And I want to say one thing real quick before we stop. I've got a Cafe Press website.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, I did see that on your. I went to your website and I
And
saw
this is Earth
paraphernalia.
Day, right?
Mhm.
It's my little Swampy character, and it's round. It's holistic. You can see the colors going around Swampy.
Yes.
And it's the colors. And then one more thing is this is one that I got. If you're interested, I've got the T-shirts, okay, with the Swampy character for Earth Day.
Oh,
And
look
I
at
can
that.
put the name of your organization on top of it, okay, as well.
All right, cool. So that'll be a great sponsor opportunity for anybody, seeing that. Definitely you want to plug in a Swampy. And your email again.
Swampy@swampy.org or KentGlade@swampy.org.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, so definitely make sure you contact Swampy to be a sponsor, or either just to pick up a shirt yourself, for your class. That'll be awesome for all the students in the class to have this shirt. And of course the rest of us OGs will have our mug.
Right.
Drinking our morning brews or whatever, tea or coffees or whatever, even our orange juice, put it in that mug.
Yeah, check on Amazon. I got a book, Swampy and Friends, as we try to have a campaign. Audrey,
yeah,
thank
definitely.
you so much for having me. I'm very excited. You got me all energized here.
Thank you for listening to another episode of The Business Chop. It is my hope that you were able to glean usable information from today's episode and that you will download and share this podcast. Be sure to plug into our guests. Go through their website and social media channels to see how they can help you further through their products and services, as well as plug into our website altogether.biz, where we will help you expand your brand.